And without the support of these mindsets or moods, being loses its objectifying nature. Before I look at Sutra 20, I'd like to go back to Sutra 17, which I did a couple of videos ago. An object, the word for it, and associated concept are muddled and confused with each other. Harmonious integration brings the appropriate attitude to all levels of language. So we're questioning our most fundamental assumptions about ourselves and the world we live in. Even that statement makes certain assumptions, doesn't it? That there's a me here and a world out there, and there's a me here experiencing that world out there. These are the assumptions that we make. And Sutra 17 was about language, which is based on these assumptions. It's based on the assumption that there's a lot of things out there. Objects, people, but we'll just say objects for all the things that are out there. And there's words for these objects. We label each of these objects with a word. And then we have an idea about these objects. And Sutra 17 is saying that that understanding is muddled and confused. So how could it be muddled and confused? Perhaps we mistake the idea of something with its reality. For example, we think that money is something real. Money is usually a piece of metal or a paper note. Although for many people now it's a number on a computer screen. And yet it's something we give a very concrete reality to. It's an idea which we take as a physical object. And this is actually true of most things. It's true of most things that we care about, most things that we have feelings about. We have feelings for the idea of something. And this applies particularly to our addictions and fetishes. If you've got a fetish for something, then the idea of it is out of all proportion to the reality of it. This is usually tied in with sexual behaviour, and it doesn't have to be a particularly deviant behaviour. The female body is fetishized out of all proportion to what it actually is. The breasts, for example. We also find it in people that get obsessed with other people. And this isn't necessarily just a fringe behaviour. People seem particularly interested in the lives of the rich and famous. These people have become symbols of something, and the symbol is quite separate to who they are as people. They're just simply human beings going about their business. But for some reason they get fetishized. The idea of them has got nothing to do with the reality of them. So this is the muddlement and confusion. And we're told in Sutra 17 that harmonious integration brings the appropriate attitude to all levels of language. And what is this appropriate attitude? Well, the appropriate attitude is realizing that there are no objects. This is the knowledge that comes from the perspective of samyama. And you should find this quite a jarring statement. That is, unless you've watched many of my other videos. Because all we've got are these feelings. We've got these feelings for things that we believe to be objects, objective facts. All we've really got are our moods or mindsets. I started reading a book of essays recently by a relatively well-known British author. I'd heard of him before, but I haven't read his stuff. But after the first few essays, I began to recognize his mindset. It's a left-wing mindset, a Marxist one. And he's got a very definite way of looking at things in terms of exploitation and the establishment, which is bad, of course. And there's an anger running through it all, an indignation, a sense of injustice. It's a particular mindset. You might ask yourself, well, is he right or is he wrong? But it's a particular mindset. And there might be circumstances where it's feasible to go along with that mindset. But once I recognised this mindset, I lost interest in what he had to say, because it's a very monotonous mindset. Now, I'm not going to go into the rights and wrongs of the mindset, but it is a very particular mindset. The question we must ask ourselves, to what extent is he reflecting a social reality? And to what extent is he imposing his own mood on social reality, his own mindset on social reality? Interesting question. It depends on you, really. It depends on the extent to which you want to impose a particular mindset as the conventional reality. Anyway, I don't want to get into politics here, because that's one thing. As spiritual practitioners, we have to be aware how a certain mindset creates our reality. And whether you want to operate on a political level at some point, that's your choice, that's up to you. But we must be quite clear that yoga practice is not a political thing. It doesn't mean that we don't engage in politics. We're free to engage in politics, but spiritually we are not subscribing to any world view. We are not subscribing to any set of beliefs. We are extricating ourselves from all assumptions. We are not moving ourselves from one mindset to another. We're going beyond all mindsets, including the mindset that says there's a lot of objects out there. And this is the important point of Sutra 20. Without the support of these mindsets or moods, being loses its objectifying nature. Because this is what consciousness does. Whatever we're aware of, consciousness imbues with reality. We might be in what we subsequently regard as a dream, but at the time of the dream, we take it as real. Even if it's a lucid dream, even if we know it's a dream, the reality of it is enhanced even further. And I said before, in the previous video, the one before it, that we should compare the working of consciousness in our waking state with the working of consciousness in the dream state. I didn't justify this at the time, but there's a whole series of videos on the Yoga Vasishtha which embed us in this understanding. You might say what we're experiencing now is more real than what we experience in the dream, but that's how consciousness works. It gives a sense of reality to whatever has been experienced right now. So if right now we're in a dream, then that is very, very, very real. Whatever mood we happen to be in is very, very, very real. It's not just our mood, it's how the world is. This is the objectifying nature of consciousness. It's what makes objects, it's what makes reality. And it's what we have to transcend as spiritual practitioners, as yogis, as enlightenment practitioners. We transcend it by samyama, by absorbing the attention in the essence of its nature. this is what Book 3 is about. It's about consolidating this, consolidating ourselves in samadhi, which means undermining all these deep assumptions, these deep convictions we have about how things are. It's about dissolving these assumptions, dissolving these convictions, dissolving these most fundamental assumptions about how things are. And this is spelled out even further in Sutra 21.